Hey everyone! We are so glad that you have decided to join us for another episode of KHCTV, where each week we learn how to be kingdom expanding, heart transforming, and culture shaping. Today we get to hear another story about Jesus. In our story today, Peter and the disciples are in a boat when they are caught in a really big storm. It was late at night. The rain was powerful, the wind was powerful, and they were afraid. I would be too. But Jesus appears to the disciples, and what you see happen next is amazing. But before we get too far into the story, let's sing a song together. So wherever you are, stand up and sing as loud as you can.
On the nights when the dark lasts a little bit longer, when the wind and the storm is a little bit stronger, when the fear in my heart digs a little bit deeper, and when my faith to stand gets a little bit weaker, where could I run to? Where could I go? Even when it feels like my world is shaking, even when I've had all that I can take, I know you never let me go. Whoa. And even when the waters won't stop rising, even when I'm caught in the dead of the night, I know no matter how it ends, you're with me even then. The days up ahead look a little bit brighter, but the grip of the past holds a little bit tighter. I'm reminded your grace never asked for perfection. Oh, I'm restored 'cause I'm yours and I stand forgiven. Yeah. Even when it feels like my world is shaking, even when I've had all that I can take, I know you never let me go. Whoa. And even when the waters won't stop rising, even when I'm caught in the dead of the night, I know no matter how it ends, you're with me even then. And even in the middle of the struggle, and even when it's hard to remember, you alone are my defense when I'm standing on your promises. And I know that even in the thick of the battle, and even through the valley of the shadows, you alone are my defense when I'm standing on your promises. So where could I run to? Where could I go? Even when it feels like my world is shaking, even when I've had all that I can take, I know you never let me go. Whoa. And even when the waters won't stop rising, even when I'm caught in the dead of the night, I know no matter how it ends, you're with me even then. You're with me, yeah. No matter how it ends, you're with me even then.
You guys sounded so amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. So now, let's get to our Bible story. Let's go.
Well, hello! Miss Carrie here, and you are just in time. I'm so glad it's Fun Friday. I don't know about you, but I was ready for a little rescue from being indoors. It looks like a great day to be outside, so I wanted you to join me. You see, I found a boat. What a great discovery. I have got to check this thing out. And seeing this boat reminds me of a Bible story. You know, the one where Jesus walks on the water. I have to share this one with you. Now, before we get too deep into this story, you need to know about this really great guy, Peter. Well, he actually started off as Simon, and then Jesus renamed him Peter. Well, now that we got that all straight, we can continue with our story. So you see, Peter was a fisherman, called by Jesus along with the other 11 disciples, and Peter left everything to follow Jesus. He went everywhere with Jesus. He got to hear him teach and do many miracles. And because of all these things that were happening, it wasn't always just Jesus and the 12 disciples together. Great crowds followed him pretty much everywhere he went. So one day, after Jesus had done a great miracle, he sent the disciples in a boat, just like this one, across the Sea of Galilee, while he stayed and sent the group of people who had been following him home. After the people left, Jesus went to the hills on his own to pray. Meanwhile, the disciples were out on the boat and they were in a bit of trouble. After they got out to sea, strong winds and waves began crashing. Crashing surrounded them and they were scared. Meanwhile, during this huge storm, Jesus came to join them. Not by boat, not by plane, and not by swimming either. Now, you see, because Jesus can do anything, Jesus came to them walking on the water. But when the disciples saw him walking on the water, they thought it was a ghost, and they were terrified. Now, Jesus, he saw them, and he knew them, and he spoke to them and said, "Do not be afraid. Take courage. I am here." Peter, remember, former fisherman, disciple on the boat, shouted out, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come out onto the water." Jesus said, "Yes." And you know what Peter did? He got out of the boat. He was doing it. He was walking on the water towards Jesus, focused on Jesus. But as he was walking, he could hear and see the wind and the waves, and his focus changed. He got distracted, and he got scared, and he began to sink. Peter was in trouble, so he shouted, "Jesus, save me, Lord!" And he did. Jesus rescued him and said to Peter, "Your faith is so small. Why did you doubt me?" Jesus and Peter got back into the boat, and the wind and the waves stopped. And all the disciples worshiped him and knew Jesus was the Son of God. What an incredible miracle. Kids, I want you to think with me for just a moment about this. If Jesus asked you to get out of the boat and step onto the stormy waves, would you do it? In our Bible story today, Peter, a human being just like you and me, he did it. He got out and he walked on top of the water just like Jesus. You see, he would never have been able to walk out onto the water if he looked only to the things around him or looked it to himself. Peter did not call out to Jesus and say, "If I can do this on my own strength, call me out into the water, Jesus." Peter didn't focus on himself. When he stepped onto the boat, the only thing he was able to do is walk on the water when he focused on Jesus. Peter trusted Jesus more than anything. He knew he was powerful and that he would be the one to rescue him. You may be thinking, Miss Carrie, remember, he did get out of the boat and he did walk on water, but then he sank. And you're right. As soon as he looked at those crashing waves around him and took his focus off of Jesus, he got scared and he started to sink. He sank when he looked to the things around him in fear and to his own strength to do the impossible. Now, this is just like how God works in our lives. You might be facing something right now that you are not big enough or powerful enough to handle on your own. But just like when Peter called out to Jesus for help, God is both able and willing to rescue you. It is so easy for us to focus on ourselves, on what we can do or what we can't do when problems come. But we can learn from our Bible story today. And it also tells us in the beginning of chapter 12 in Hebrews that we need to lay down every weight and sin that so easily traps us. We're told to run the race with endurance that lies before us and keep our eyes on Jesus. When a problem comes up or there's a next step in front of you that seems too scary to take, don't look to yourself. Look to Jesus, our rescuer. He is powerful and He can help us do anything. He wants us to trust Him even when it makes no sense or scary things are happening around us. Remember that God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. And in His perfect love, there's no room for fear. Even if you feel alone, He is with you and He has prepared great things for you to do. But you can't do these things on your own, kids, and that is okay. Jesus does not ask you to be perfect, and He does not want you to rely on your own strength. He wants you to be willing. He wants you to focus on Him, and He wants you to trust Him. So based on what we learned today, I want you to ask yourself, how can you live out trusting in Jesus in your own life this week? Is there a next step in faith that you feel God is wanting you to take? I want to encourage you to talk with your parents about this. And well, friends, I better think about getting back inside. I don't know about you all, but I'm wet and I'm ready for a snack. You know, for some reason, I'm feeling really hungry for fish. That's odd. Oh well, I'm gonna go ahead and head inside, and I will see you guys on Sunday.